this morning? Good. How's everybody doing this morning?
Excellent.
Good, good. Because I know the next, I guess, 6 or 8 hours, you're going to be given a lot of information about a lot of things. You'll probably be talking about social media. You'll be talking about CRMs, what you have to do to take advantage of this economy right now. But look, all that does not matter without leadership. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Like what game are you going to bring? And what I want to do is I want to open up with what is happening with your people. 4 or 5 days ago, a gentleman, a dealer, told me, he's like, look, my people, the people that I hire today is my biggest problem. How many would agree with that statement? He said to me, he's like, it's like they're not motivated. They're not excited, Grant. It's like they don't have, I can't get them to move. And I'm like, look, man, why do you keep telling yourself this lie? And he's like, no, that's my problem. I said, this is exactly what your father said about your generation. And his father said about his generation. Would you agree? They weren't as motivated as the previous generation. The generation of people that you're hiring today is not your problem. The cause of apathy, if you've ever seen apathy in the workplace, how many have seen that before? The company says, we have the best CRM, and you're like, it doesn't matter if I have the best one. Dude, I got human beings that got to plug the data in. It doesn't matter if I have the best social media program. You can't tweet yourself into a profit line if your people aren't excited. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to share a video with you of what I believe the true cause of apathy in our country is, and your greatest competition. Can we roll that clip?
Nuclear nightmare continues.
The exodus has begun.
Military operation against Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi's regime may start within hours.
Ultimate Ahmed are about drug taken by cops.
More than 15 million who aren't working.
Enormous devastation there.
15 cents in the past week, 78 cents over a year ago.
Global stronghold remains defiant.
Thousands of troubled homeowners lined up for help trying to avoid foreclosure.
Autistic teachers may have to be laid off due to state budget cuts.
It's going to be like a recession. We expect it to value recession.
Still teetering on the edge of a meltdown.
Household net worth has plunged 19%.
Nothing worse for our economy than higher oil prices. Trailing destruction, and it's getting worse by the hour.
The auto industry is crashing.
This could be a Chernobyl in the making.
For heating oil up 36%.
It's the highest in 140 years. Unprecedented crisis.
Stocks took a triple-digit dive.
Lung cancer is caused by thyroid cancer. History making earthquake, one of the largest ever. Radioactivity could carry the atmosphere to the west coast of the United States.
This is your competition right here. This is what your people hear Saturday morning before your sales meeting. This is what they hear on Wednesday afternoon after they've been 3 days without a deal. This is what your management team hears constantly coming out of their bedroom. And while the used car manager might say, I'm not putting any money in that car. That's why the finance manager, when I bring a deal to him after I've been on it 3 hours, says, without even running the deal, can't get it done. As though he's a psychic and can tell the future rather than a finance manager. So what I'm here to do today to encourage you, I was at your store, Brad Benstock's store, Paragon, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. I've been there 3 times in the last month. I've worked with many of you in the room. I work with Brad Bug, where I live in Los Angeles, over at Norm Reeves. Jim Dunn's in the room. I've worked with Jim, I guess, a couple years ago. And the first thing that I'm going to always do in a dealership, I was at a General Motors store last week in New Jersey for 4 days. A guy's he's talking about processes. I'm like, dude, you're so far away from processes. We just got to get the attitudes right in the organization. Do you agree with that? I mean, just to get everybody excited again. Because when you got 800 TV channels and endless radio channels, you know, slamming you every day about don't do this, and this is coming, this is a problem, and that's a problem. Notice when we started flipping Tommy Hawks into Libya, the nuclear problem went away. Right? Just vanished. Hadn't heard a thing about it. You got publishers now saying, hey, I'm embarrassed about my own trade and how they're overreacting to situations and basically sharing negative content with people that's not even true. I researched the nuclear thing in Japan and found out that not one article that has been written does not contain errors in those articles. But this is what your people talk about on the showroom floor. So we did some research, and we first of all, motivation. Because many of you in the room are telling me, Grant, it doesn't last. I don't believe in motivation. I don't believe in just getting people excited because it doesn't last, it doesn't stick. So I looked up the word, it says, motivation is the driving force which helps cause us to achieve our goals. Without motivation, like fuel, no fuel in a car, it doesn't matter how good that car is, okay? Can't measure it, can't weigh it, can't advertise it. It never makes your financial statement, but your customers experience it. How many agree you pay for it? How many agree, in fact, the customer today will pay more for a good attitude and a positive experience than they will for a good product? You can't, the manufacturers can't build this. You deliver this. This is seen in a tweet. This is seen on Facebook. This is seen in a person's relentless attempt to dominate their sector in their marketplace. This is a survey that we did with customers and said, hey, what is it most important to you when you go to buy a product? Is it the road to the sale? Is it building rapport? Is it a closing ability? Is it handling objections? Is it product knowledge? Look, product knowledge is 1%. This is customers that took this survey. Customers said 1% influence them in purchasing a vehicle. 66% of the time, the attitude of the sales force and the organization was more important than everything else combined. But what does your manufacturer spend most of their time training salespeople on? And what do they tell the manager? You got to know your product knowledge. You got to know your product knowledge. You got customers that know more about product. You got customers that know more about product than the engineer that built the car. Would you agree? This is a survey that we did with salespeople and managers. The first survey was customers. This was a survey we did with salespeople and managers that says staying motivated and attitude out of steps to the sale, product knowledge, handling objections, closing the deal, staying motivated and a positive attitude was their most difficult challenge. Only 8% of the people rated steps to the sale as something they need help with. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Okay? Product knowledge, they said only 4% of the time it was handling objections, closing the deal, and staying positive. So my encouragement to you this morning, folks, you know, when a clip came up and I'm like, hey, how's everybody doing? You know, what's happening? Were you out too late? You know, because the truth is, whatever you bring back to your dealership, if it's not positive, it won't matter. Would you agree? It doesn't matter how good the idea is. Look, I don't know anything about social media, but I hit it with such an attitude for it to survive. When I communicate, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or on stage, my attempt is to affect change. When I take a phone call, my attempt is to, my effort, my initiative is to affect change positively. How do you win a battle when you got 800 TV channels, okay? You don't need to worry about the Honda dealer down the street. You need to worry about CNBC, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, right? You need to worry about the salespeople on the showroom floor saying, hey, did you hear? We're going nuclear. We're into Libya. It's Egypt this week. It's Charlie Sheen. Some people still talk about Michael Jackson dying. And it's like, what's that got to do with me, man? Okay? What are you doing about it? How do we move some iron today? How do we make some money? How do I stay effective? How do you win the battle? Number one, daily sales meetings. This would be sharing success stories, positive news, sales solutions. Individual training. The salespeople need to train individually. Me talking to them for 5 minutes in the morning at a sales meeting is not them getting educated. There's a direct correlation with the right amount of training, would you agree, with somebody being motivated. If the plumbing goes out in this building, I will not be motivated to solve the problem. Why? Because I don't know anything about plumbing. I'm going to be motivated to call somebody, right? But because my training lacks, most of you don't believe in training for one reason. If you don't believe in training, you don't believe in it because you don't do enough training. Because if I train enough, the Olympics train enough. Would you agree? These tennis teams, they're not going to say they don't believe in training. They're going to say, hey, I believe in training. Daily, what can we do? What can we do to do this deal? That is my question in my office. Okay? I want to be at the top of this search. Oh, that's impossible, Grant. Good. What can we do to do that? I don't care if it's impossible. And last is constant internal messages. Brian Benstock has me on his, I don't know how I got on your little, your whatever you call that, link on your tweet, where you link, text your team, but he's constantly internally texting his people with, hey, let's do it, we can do it, we had a great weekend, how can we push forward? That kind of technology is easy for you to do. That brings me to make your zone about negativity. You know, we have these little signs that we put around the dealership, like no negativity allowed here. I don't need to hear it. I don't need to hear a finance manager say what he can't do. Would you agree? Who cares what you can't do? You know, I did these to customers. Grant, we don't have the budget for it. I pull this out of my pocket. I'm like, here, man, take this. You're negative, dude. Okay? Budget's not your problem. You already fixed your budget. Everybody in the room's fixed their budget already. For those of you who call on car dealers, when they say, look, we don't have it in the budget, we're cutting our budget. Look, you did that 3 years ago or you wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having this conversation today. Would you agree? 2 reasons your business is good today, folks. 2 reasons. You cut your budgets and the economy got better. Everybody agree with that? 2 main reasons car dealers are making money today. It's not because they got better. No offense to anybody in the room, but for most car dealers that I visit, 2 reasons they got better. They cut their budgets to where they should be, and number 2, the economy got better. Here's the problem with that. If your business got better just because of the economy, you're an effect and you're a risk. Because the economy that you sit on is so fragile. It's so fragile. I said this at NADA. This was before Libya. This was before nuclear. This was before tsunamis and earthquakes. I said, man, the economy you sit on is so fragile, okay? $5 gas, you got a problem. Any kind of terrorist attack, you got a problem. Things start falling apart because all the negative media has your clients scared. So this is what I would encourage you to do while you're here. No negativity. How do I stay positive? How do I keep my people positive? How do you stay positive and excited about your future? Thank you very much for having me here. Have a great day.